As you know, Brianna, we are in a very competitive job market. Employers are having to work harder than ever to stand out. So how can companies enhance their employer brand to more effectively attract top talent?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're obviously in the business of employer branding, so I'm going to speak very much from that perspective. Employer branding is really a proactive strategy in many ways. It's very much all encompassing, and it's not necessarily something that you invest in if you need a quick, immediate return. There's certainly ways that you can bring your employer brand to life that will get you a quick, immediate return, and we talk a lot about that over on our blog at ML Strategies, where we give people really tactical, functional tips to elevate your employer brand. But ultimately, when we talk about employer branding, I think it's important to clarify, first of all, what we mean by that. So to us, an employer brand is everything about how you show up as an employer to current and future employees. So it's all about your reputation, how you talk about yourselves, how people talk about you. It really is quite broad. Some of it you can control, others of it you can't really control, but you can influence by giving people the right information and resources to talk about your brand, for example, in the way that you want them to. So when we talk about employer branding, we often, again, refer to it as a much more long-term strategy. So it's not necessarily going to get you an immediate overnight return, although some tactics will. So again, if you're doing employer branding, there's no right or wrong way, but if we call it the thorough way of doing an employer brand, it starts by really understanding and investing in that discovery of who you are as an organization. And that involves asking a lot of questions of your leadership and your people. So once you have a good understanding of who you are, it empowers you to then develop out messaging and a value proposition of who you are as an organization and what you offer to people, current and future employees. Once you have that messaging, it's important to use that messaging for consistency across all of your channels, whether that's in how you write about yourselves in job ads, whether that's the content on your career site, whether it's including real images of your own team, representing the diversity or lack of diversity in some cases of what is real in your organization, and being really honest about who you are, because it's one thing to lie to get people in the door, but it's not going to work very well for you long term. It ends up having a long-term negative impact, so it's a net negative. Whereas if you invest in being authentic to who you are and telling that real story of who your organization is, it's not about appealing to everybody. You don't need everybody to want to work for you. You need the right people who are looking for the experience and the opportunity that you can provide them as an employer. That's who you're looking for. So if you're authentic about who you are and you're telling that story of your employer brand and your organization consistently across channels, including job ads, social media, content on your website, blog content, video content, photography, etc., that'll all really help to feed and build your overall talent pipeline. And that's what we look to achieve with your employer brand, is that awareness, that talent community, that talent pipeline. So it's all about driving people into your talent community and then really investing in that recruitment marketing and content to keep people engaged once they're in your pipeline, so that when you do need to make a hiring decision, you have this incredible resource at your fingertips of people that have put their hand up and said, I'm interested in what you're all about. I want to talk to you more about what it's like to work for you when the time is right. So an employer brand really is a long-term strategy. Lots of things that you can do in the immediate short term, including investing in rejigging your job ads, adding simple visuals. So when you're sharing about job ads on LinkedIn, for example, it's not just another text-based share. You have an image that helps people see what you're all about as a company and gets people's attention. It's rewriting your job ads so they seem like they have a little bit more personality. It could be simply grabbing your iPhone and interviewing a hiring manager for a role. We're seeing lots of organizations have great success with this. It's not always about hyper-polished, overproduced video. That's great, but it also needs a lot more time and quite a lot more budget than it needs to just grab your iPhone and take a shoot. It can be, again, that content on your social media. So there's lots of ways that you can achieve a quick win. And again, for people that are interested, I would encourage you to visit mlstrategies.com and take a look at our blog. Our team regularly shares ways that you can have quick wins with your employer brand as well.